The world awakens to silence. No wind, no waves, no movement, only a strange stillness that feels unnatural. The earth has stopped spinning. One moment, cities are bustling with their daily rhythm, and the next, everything is thrown into unimaginable chaos. This is not science fiction, it is a thought experiment that scientists have often considered to understand the delicate balance of our planet. Earth's rotation is something we rarely think about, yet it defines every second of our existence. It gives us day and night, stabilizes our weather, and even allows life to thrive. At over 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, this spin is not just a background detail, it is the heartbeat of our world. Without it, gravity would shift, oceans would rage, and the air we breathe would turn violent. But what if, right now, the planet froze in its tracks? Would we be thrown into space? Would the seas rise into walls of water? Or would the Earth simply fall into a haunting stillness? This documentary takes you on a cinematic journey through one of the most terrifying what-if scenarios in science. The day Earth stops spinning, we'll uncover the physics behind our planet's motion, the devastating chain reactions that would follow, and the deeper lessons about the fragile home we all share. Because sometimes, to truly understand the world we live in, we must imagine what happens when the unthinkable occurs over 4.5 billion years ago. Earth was born out of chaos. Clouds of dust and gas swirled around the young sun, colliding and fusing into larger bodies. When Earth finally took shape, violent impacts, including the colossal collision that likely created the moon, set it into a spin. That rotation has never stopped. Every second since, our planet has been turning steadily on its axis, completing one full revolution every 24 hours. This spin became the foundation of life itself. Without it, the story of Earth would be entirely different. Why does Earth keep spinning? The answer lies in a simple but powerful law: conservation of angular momentum. Once an object begins to rotate in the vacuum of space, there is nothing to stop it, no friction, no resistance. Earth's spin has slowed only slightly over billions of years, largely due to the gravitational tug of the moon, which raises tides and ever so gently saps the planet's energy. Even so, the change is tiny, just milliseconds added to each century. For us, the rotation feels eternal. Still, scientists can measure these small shifts with remarkable precision. Ancient eclipse records from thousands of years ago reveal that Earth rotated faster in the past. Back then, a day was closer to 22 hours rather than the 24 we know today. Even major earthquakes can slightly change the distribution of Earth's mass, altering its rotation by fractions of a second. These are microscopic adjustments, but they remind us that our planet is a living, dynamic body, not a perfectly stable machine. Looking beyond Earth, we see striking differences. Venus spins so slowly that a single day there lasts longer than its year. Jupiter, by contrast, races through a full rotation in just 10 hours, fueling colossal storms. These variations remind us that Earth's spin fast enough to stabilize life, slow enough to avoid destruction, is an extraordinary balance. If that balance were to break, the results would be catastrophic. The story of Earth's rotation is a story of origin, physics, and fragile stability. To imagine it stopping is to imagine unraveling the very forces that made our world possible. Imagine Earth's spin suddenly halting. In that instant, everything not firmly anchored to bedrock would be flung eastward at immense speed. The ground beneath would stop, but the oceans and atmosphere would not. At the equator, Earth spins at over 1,600 kilometers per hour faster than a passenger jet. Cities, forests, even entire oceans would surge forward, tearing across continents. Skyscrapers would crumble, oceans would leap from their basins, and windstorms more violent than any hurricane would rip across the planet. This is not science fiction, it is simple physics. Objects in motion stay in motion until acted upon by a force. If the planet stops, everything else keeps going. Water, being fluid and vast, would cause the most immediate devastation. The oceans would rush violently over land, creating continent-sized tsunamis. Coastlines would vanish in moments. Low-lying regions, from Florida to Bangladesh, would be submerged instantly. The Atlantic could pour across the Americas, while the Pacific might sweep into Asia. Over time, without rotation, oceans would begin to flow toward the poles. Why? Because Earth's spin currently bulges the equator outward, making it wider than pole to pole. Without that centrifugal bulge, gravity would pull water toward the poles, drowning northern and southern continents while exposing a dry, desert-like equator. The air around us also spins with the Earth. If the ground stopped, the atmosphere would keep moving, unleashing winds faster than any jet stream. The first few hours would bring storms strong enough to strip trees bare and flatten cities. Planes in the sky would fall, birds would be torn from flight, and dust would blacken the skies. Over weeks, the lack of planetary spin would collapse the system of winds we rely on. No more jet streams, no more trade winds, no more predictable weather. The climate would split into extremes, scorching heat under the constant sun, and bitter cold in the endless night. Right now, Earth's rotation gives us a 24-hour day. Without it, one side of the planet would face the sun endlessly while the other remained in eternal darkness. The day side would burn. Temperatures could climb so high that rivers and lakes would boil, and crops would wither. The night side would freeze, plunging into conditions colder than Antarctica. The delicate balance that sustains ecosystems and agriculture would collapse. Only a narrow twilight band between scorching day and freezing night might remain barely habitable. Humanity, if it survived the first waves of disaster, would be forced to migrate into this thin strip. Earth's rotation drives the motion of molten iron in its outer core, which creates our magnetic field. This invisible shield protects us from deadly solar radiation and cosmic particles. If Earth stopped spinning, the Giordanomo would collapse. Within decades, maybe sooner, our magnetic field would vanish. Solar winds would strip away the upper atmosphere, just as they did on Mars long ago. Without that protection, radiation from the sun would bombard the surface, making life on land nearly impossible. The redistribution of oceans and atmosphere would also affect Earth's crust. With oceans draining toward the poles, the pressure on tectonic plates would shift dramatically. Volcanoes might awaken, and massive earthquakes would rip through fault lines. Mountain ranges could grow or crumble under the strain. The entire face of the planet would be reshaped within centuries, turning Earth into a world unrecognizable from space. Could humans survive such an apocalypse? The immediate answer is grim. Billions would perish in the first days from tsunamis, collapsing infrastructure, or unbreathable air. But human beings are resourceful. Underground shelters could protect some from radiation. Artificial habitats might allow survival in the twilight regions. Technology could sustain pockets of civilization, but only at enormous cost. The world as we know it would be gone. One might ask, what if Earth didn't stop instantly, but slowed gradually? Even then, the effects would be devastating. Days and nights would lengthen over centuries, altering climates and ecosystems. Agriculture would fail as growing seasons shifted. The poles would still draw the oceans north and south. Humanity might adapt, but civilizations would be transformed beyond recognition. This scenario may sound like fantasy, but it is grounded in science. Earth will not stop spinning anytime soon. Yet this thought experiment reveals how deeply life depends on something we take for granted. Rotation. It shows the fragile balance that sustains everything from climate to crops, to the very air we breathe. And it reminds us that our place in the universe is not permanent. It is a delicate arrangement of forces that could change in an instant. When we imagine Earth standing still, it feels like the ultimate nightmare. Oceans roaring across continents, skies ripped apart by storms, and sunlight burning endlessly on one half of the world. It sounds almost biblical. But beyond the chaos and destruction lies a deeper message. How fragile and temporary our comfort really is. Humanity often assumes that Earth is unshakable, a solid rock under our feet. In truth, our survival depends on invisible forces we rarely think about: rotation, gravity, magnetism. Remove even one of these, and the balance collapses. This thought experiment doesn't just stir fear, it sparks awe at how perfectly our planet spins, and how every sunrise and sunset is a reminder of that fragile harmony. Why should we think about such an impossible scenario? Because it teaches us to respect the systems we live within. Climate change, for instance, shows what happens when balance is disturbed. Rising temperatures, shifting storms, melting ice caps, all of these remind us that Earth is delicate. While the planet will not stop spinning, our actions already push the atmosphere and oceans toward chaos. Thinking about an unthinkable apocalypse helps us appreciate the smaller, but very real changes happening now. It tells us, take nothing for granted, because even the smallest imbalance can change the world. Across history, civilizations have imagined the world ending in fire, flood, or darkness. Ancient myths from the Norse Ragnarok to the Mayan calendar describe Earth being torn apart or remade. The idea of the world stopping carries echoes of these ancient fears. Science fiction has also embraced it, movies and novels showing frozen cities under eternal night, or deserts blazing under a never-setting sun. These stories, while fictional, reflect humanity's deepest anxieties: losing the rhythm of life, losing the cycle of day and night, losing home itself. Yet whenever we tell these stories, whether through myth, fiction, or science, we always include one element: survival. Human beings imagine disaster, but we also imagine endurance. If the Earth stopped spinning, perhaps small bands of survivors would adapt, building cities in twilight zones, finding ways to harness technology to create artificial balance. This resilience is what defines us. We are a species that prepares for the worst and dreams of the impossible. Thinking about the day Earth stood still is not just about fear, it is about asking ourselves how we would endure, how we would unite, and how far human ingenuity can stretch. Finally, this scenario places us in a cosmic frame of mind. Earth feels eternal, but it is only one planet among billions. On some worlds, rotation is already slow or locked Mercury, Pluto, and many exoplanets face their stars with one side forever bright, the other forever dark. By imagining Earth like that, we connect to the wider universe. We realize life on Earth is rare, fragile, and precious. Our spinning world is a miracle, and its steady rotation is the silent heartbeat of everything we know. To live on a planet that spins just right, at the perfect tilt, circling the perfect star that is nothing short of extraordinary. So, what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning? The answer is simple and terrifying. Almost everything would die. But the deeper answer is profound. It would reveal just how much we rely on forces we cannot see, and how miraculous it is that they exist at all. The next time you watch the sunset or feel a cool breeze across your face, remember it is only possible because Earth keeps turning, and as long as it does, so do we. In the end, the thought of Earth suddenly stopping is both terrifying and enlightening. It reminds us that our daily lives, our meals, our work, our sleep, even the rising and setting of the sun are all possible because of the planet's quiet, constant motion. The rotation of Earth is so steady, so reliable, that we almost never think about it. And yet, it is the very foundation of our survival. Without it, chaos would rule, though Earth will not stop spinning tomorrow. This scenario urges us to recognize the fragility of balance in our real world. Climate change, resource depletion, and environmental destruction are all reminders that stability is never guaranteed. We do not need a sudden halt of Earth's rotation to bring disaster. We are already capable of creating our own if we are careless. This thought experiment teaches humility, responsibility, and urgency. There is also hope in this story. As we study the universe, we see planets locked in eternal day or eternal night. We wonder, could life survive there? Could humans one day adapt to such extreme worlds? By imagining Earth's rotation stopping, we are preparing our minds for the challenges of space exploration and the search for new homes among the stars. So the next time you watch the stars drift slowly across the night sky, remember that what seems ordinary is in fact extraordinary. The Earth turns, and with every spin, it gives us life, time, and meaning. If it ever stopped, everything would change. But as long as it keeps moving, we are part of a miracle that has no equal in the universe.